Thank you. Welcome, my learners. I want to introduce you to my online classes. That is, today I want us to do science and technology, grade 4 science and technology, by me, that is mwalimu-V, or Vincent is my name. Welcome once again. So today I will take you through the first lesson, and the first lesson is about the first topic, which is living things, and we will specifically talk about plants, although we might not start today. The first topic, living things, about plants, we would like to talk about characteristics of living things. How do living things behave? What things can we use to tell that this object is a living thing? So at the end of this lesson, as a learner, you have to ensure that you are able to identify living and non-living things in the environment. You should be able to identify living and non-living things in the environment. Then secondly, as a learner, you should also be able to name living and non-living things found in the environment. I name a few, which I am going to give examples, so that at the end of the day you have the objective achieved. Also, you should be able to appreciate living and non-living things in the environment. So without wasting time, let me move to the next slide, so that we can now start talking about our lesson today. So the topic is living things, and we want to talk about plants. So what are the characteristics of plants? How do we identify an object as a plant? So before that, we will want to define the term living. What is living thing? What is a living thing? From your screen, you are able to see that a living thing is an organism that has life. So that's why it is termed or called a living thing. It is living, it has life in it. And what does that mean? Anything that has life in it, that means it has the ability to carry out life processes. That is again leading us to another thing. So what does it mean when we are told that a living thing or an organism with life has the ability, is able to carry out life processes? That means any living thing, starting from plants and animals, they should be able to carry out the following life processes. These are the things we use to identify that something is a living thing. 1, there should be movement, at least change of position from one area to another. If something, an object is able to move, it is already showing a characteristic of living thing. Although we also have some living things that do not actually move so much, or we also have non-living things that can move. Like if somebody asks you, now, is a car, an aeroplane, or a ship, or a bus a living thing? Because the teacher has said living things move. The answer is no. Why? Because we also still have other processes which cars, buses, ships, aeroplanes do not have. So as much as they move, can they breathe? No. So another important thing about living things is that they are able to breathe in and out. So that is also another thing we use to tell that an object is a living thing. It is able to move, it is able to breathe in and out. Of course, that is air. Then another third process that we use to know that this is a living thing is reproduce. A living thing is able to reproduce, and this is one of the most important things in the life of living things or living organisms. So my grade 4 learners, what is reproduce? To reproduce is to give rise to a new living thing. Like human beings are able to give birth to another human being. A cow is able to give birth to a calf. That is reproducing. A hen lays eggs and the eggs hatch into other chicks, which again form another hen. That is reproduce. They give rise to other living organisms. They are able to produce other living organisms. So that is what we call reproduce. So if an object is able to move, an object is able to breathe in and out, an object is able to reproduce, that is a living thing. Another thing about living things is that they grow, and that is very, very important for your development. And I can use you, my listener or my grade 4 learner, as my example for this one. I am sure in grade 1 you are not the same size as you are. That means you have grown. Your cells in the body have multiplied and you have become bigger in size. So you are growing. That is another very important thing when we look at living things. So when we want to identify an object as a living thing, we also should know that it is able to grow and become bigger in size. Then the last thing, which is very, very important in life, which we look at, is respond to any changes in the environment. In higher, more developed words, we say irritability, but I am not sure if you will be able to grasp that. So what can I say? You identify a living thing by knowing or seeing if it is able to respond to any change in the environment. For example, I want to use you again, my learner, as an example. If it reaches a time in the evening and you feel very cold, so the environment has changed and you are feeling very cold, how do you respond? How do you take an action? You will go and put on heavy clothing. You are now responding to a change. What about if you are having heavy clothing and it is very hot? You will feel sweat. So what will you do? You will remove the heavy clothing and put on lighter clothes like vests and sweatpants. You have responded to a change. The change was it became hot or it became colder. Then another last example I can give, you are cooking and you hold a hot sufuria. It burns your hand. What do? You remove your hand. You have responded. The change was burning happened on you to your fingers. So you responded by removing your hand so that you don't burn any further. That is what we call respond to changes in the environment. If any object is able to do that, then that means that object is also a living thing. That is what we call irritability, ability to respond to changes in our environment. So living organisms are organisms with life, and they have the ability to carry out the processes we have just said. They should be able to move, they should be able to breathe, they should be able to reproduce, they should be able to grow, they should be able to respond to changes in the environment. Then another one which is not in your notes, they should also be able to excrete. Let me add it here, excrete. What does that mean? Remove waste products. As living organisms, we human beings, being an example, we remove waste products. We remove urine, we remove undigested materials, we remove carbon dioxide, we sweat. Removing these things from the body, these are substances that are not useful in the body. And since they are not useful in the body, how does the body remove them out of your body? Because when they are in the body and they continue gathering or accumulating, they become poisonous, and that means they will make you unhealthy. So any living organism, starting from plants and animals, they are able to remove these excessive products which are not useful. They should remove them because when they continue gathering or accumulating, they will reach a level they are poisonous. So plants remove waste products, animals remove waste products. How does plants remove waste products? That one I will tell you just one example. Like some plants, you will see them dropping leaves. When they drop leaves, that means the waste products are in the leaves. So when they drop leaves, they will have released the waste products. Some of them drop fruits. Some of them, they remove water in the stems. You may think that a plant is crying or removing some substances through the stem. That is excretion, and there are very, very many others. Some of them, they allow water to evaporate through the leaves because water is excess in the plant. So how do you remove it? It allows the water to evaporate because it is excess and now it is a waste product. So the removal of waste products from an organism is what we call excretion or excrete. Now examples of living and non-living things are plants and animals. Those are the examples of living and non-living things. Now the last thing I want us to talk about, not actually the last thing, but actually I want us to talk about non-living things. We have talked about living things, and I am sure my explanation has made you understand something. That's why I take time to explain so that my students can understand very well. Non-living things are objects that show no life in them. Any object that does not show any life in them, that means they are non-living. And how do we know that? They do not carry out the normal life processes we have just mentioned when talking about living things. An object you see or meet on the way is not able to move, it's not able to reproduce, it is not able to excrete, it's not able to breathe in or out, it is not able to do what we call respond to changes in the environment. That is a non-living thing. It does not have life in it. Therefore, non-living things in our environment, I will give you an example. Where you are seated, the non-living things there is like the building you are in now, the stones around your compound, the rocks, the air we breathe in, the windows. Any object that does not have those does not show or does not carry out those processes I've just told you, that is an unliving thing. Inside your house you have a lot: the television, the cups, the radio, the jerrycans, the buckets, the padlock, the keys. Those are non-living things. They don't show any of those processes. Therefore, lastly, plants as living things. We consider plants as living things because they show the following characteristics. These are the things I've just talked about earlier. We accept plants are living things because the first point on your screen you can see they are able to grow. if you take a maize seed and plant today, after 5 to 7 days, you will see the plant germinated. Then after several weeks, you will see the plant increasing in size. That is an indication that this is a living thing. It is growing, multiplying its cells. Then plants are also able to reproduce. The plants, we said, to reproduce is to give rise to other organisms, to produce other living organisms that look similar to the parent. And plants can able to do that. The plants, we plant the seeds from a maize plant, and then when we plant it, it germinates. It doesn't look like a pineapple, it doesn't look like a bean. It produces, it grows into a maize plant. So plants are able to reproduce. I'm just using maize as an example. The plants also die. Living things are also able to die. That means they are no longer able to carry out any of those processes. They turn out to be non-living things. Dying is stopping to exist. And a living object, a living thing, actually becomes an unliving thing or an unliving object. It is no longer able to carry out all these processes. Then another thing, living organisms, they feed. I forgot to tell you this, and I need to remind you or explain it now. All living organisms, for any object to consider as a living organism, apart from all those processes I have told you, living organisms must also feed. It is called nutrition. Plants feed, they make their own food by photosynthesis. Animals are able to feed every day. They also remove waste, excrete. We talked about that. Plants, we only recognize them as living things because of they are able to grow, they are able to reproduce, they are able to die, they feed, they are able to remove waste products. And I have told you how plants remove waste products. Some of them drop leaves, some of them just remove substances through the stem, some of them drop fruits, some of them allow evaporation of excess water. Then plants are also able to move. Now, the movement of plants and the movement of animals is not the same. Animals move, changing position completely, but plants maintain a similar position but move about the constant position. Then second last, we talk about the plants respond to changes in the environment. If there is a change in the environment, you will see a plant responding to it. What do I mean? For example, if it is too hot for the plant, you will see it drying. That means it is reacting to what is happening in the environment. And if the plant is drying and you provide it with water, you will see it becoming healthy, becoming more greener. That means it is responding to the environment. Lastly, they carry out gaseous exchange. This is what we call breathe in and out. A plant is able to breathe in and out, and a plant breathes out oxygen, which now we breathe in as animals, and a plant breathes in carbon dioxide. It is that carbon dioxide that helps in manufacturing of the plant food because it combines with what we call sunlight. I hope you have understood me very well, my students, and I want to take this chance to welcome you to our second lesson, which will take place later. Just continue listening, understanding, and also we also have revision questions for all these things we are talking about. Subscribe to my channel, support me where you can. I'm doing this work for the passion I have for education. Thank you so much, and may God bless you.